In this module, we're going to be talking a lot about password cracking and a few other things that kind of go along with it. What you're going to be learning, what it is, what kind of systems it can be done on, Windows, Linux. We're going to show you some examples of password cracking, the tools that you can use to crack passwords. Some of them are really, really cool. And by the end of this module, you will be cracking passwords like the pros. So let's get to it. All right, guys. So what is password cracking? You've gone through the first 3 phases: recon, scanning, enumeration, and now we're in the systems hacking phase. We want to be able to get access and escalate our privileges, so we want to be able to figure out how we can snoop around a system or take control of a system, and we need to know what the password is for generally root or administrator or some other high-powered user, whoever we can find, depending on where we are. Typically, passwords are the first thing you're going to come across because it's the first thing that happens when you connect to a computer or get to a terminal or a console of any kind. So, naturally, it's a very, very important piece of system hacking. Built into Kali Linux is a variety of different tools that we're going to be using and actually seeing some demos of, which is going to be really fun. I love doing these demos. There are a variety of different things that you kind of should know about what password cracking is and what passwords are. Typically, a password, if you've got a computer that's bought within the last, decade or so, has to have a password, or you run into them at least once. Letters, numbers, symbols, we all know that longer is better. Why is it better? Well, it takes longer to crack, for one. If you're worried about hackers locally or nosy neighbors or a ex-boyfriend, whatever the case may be, they won't be able to get past 10, 12 digits. Now, if you're worried about the government, you've got a whole different set of problems. But longer is better. The government has crazy, crazy data centers. If they wanted to turn all their resources on cracking some password of yours, sure, they could probably crack most people's passwords, but they have a lot better stuff to be doing, to be honest. One thing that a lot of people don't realize is when you see or hear about these password cracking techniques where they're guessing 1 billion guesses, it's not like logging into a web page and trying your username and password on Gmail's login screen 1 billion times a second. That's an online portal. You're trying to log in, there's no internet connections that fast. What they're talking about is an offline attack where you get what's called a password hash. And a password hash is the plain text of a password. Let's say it's chicken, CHICKEN. When stored in Windows or in other directories, it gets hashed when it's in, a stored mode. Hashing is a cryptographic algorithm that converts data, specifically being a password, into a fixed length string of characters called a fingerprint. So it looks like a code. It could be uppercase, lowercase, just a whole bunch of random, looks like garbage. Now, they use a specific algorithm to compute what that looks like. Windows, at least for one, does. And that's an advantage, and we have tools that we can actually use to decrypt that. And there are a lot of them. So in an offline attack, we would get access to, let's say, a Windows machine that we want to crack into the administrator account. Whether you can boot to it directly or you can get access, there are files and directories that you can get access to that will then allow you to take that file containing the hash of the administrator account or the user account and take it home and start applying your software, dictionary, wordlists, and all of these different things that you're going to use to crack this password, whether it's going to take a day or a week or a month. But you don't have to be sitting at your client's office trying to do this pen test locally. That's the whole point. You get to take the stuff home. Otherwise, it wouldn't be feasible at all. You'd get caught immediately. It'd be the worst security consultant on the planet. Now, another way of actually protecting stored passwords is to salt the passwords. And that doesn't mean that they're bland in flavor. It means a salt is an additional piece of random text that gets added to the hash. So that way, if I were to use the same algorithm to encrypt your password, which is chicken, and let's say there's another user in Denver who who has the same password of chicken, that password, when it's hashed, is going to look the exact same because it's the same algorithm changing the same word into the same cryptographic fingerprint. If I were to use assault, your password and my password would look completely different even if the text version was exactly the same. That's why a lot of these companies will use programs like Decrypt and other methods to make sure that passwords stored are encrypted and hashed and salted, and that's something you'll notice in some of the more technical articles, security articles about breaches and things like that. They'll note whether they were stored in plain text or whether they were stored and hashed, salted, so on and so forth. Because basically, even if you knew that you and I had the same password, and even if you could generate 1 million guesses a second, it would take billions of years to try and crack some of these password lengths, just based on the way these algorithms work. It's kind of cool. Another style of attack is, so let's say the most common 1,000 passwords in the world are admin, secret, password, love, hate, sex, so on and so forth. People have already assembled word lists for guessing. People have assembled word lists related to different languages, different vernacular, different slang, so on and so forth. So you have huge, giant word lists. But there are also things called rainbow tables, which are already pre-computed hash tables of what those words already look like as hashes. So instead of your program or whatever you're using trying to take every word in a word list, convert it into a hash, and then compare that hash to what is in the file that you're checking, it's already done half of the work. So you can actually download rainbow tables, which are just huge lists of hashes, and run that against what you're trying to crack. And this is why people salt passwords, because it defeats these pre-computed rainbow table documents, services, and things like that. Well, without further ado, I think we are going to take the next lecture, which is going to be a demo of cracking some Windows passwords and some different ways and different techniques that you can do, and go from there. And that way you'll have something that you can practice and try in your lab and crack some of your other victim machines. I'll see you in the next one. All right, guys, I'm going to show you how to crack some passwords and how to get some password hashes and do a few different demos. So let's start with our Windows XP machine. We're going to go to Edit Virtual Machine Settings. I'm going to click on Connect to Power On, use ISO image file. We're going to use our Kali Linux ISO. So this is going to be like popping in a CD or a live USB on a client's workstation. Maybe they lost their password, whatever the case may be. This is going to allow us to get access to the machine's hard drive, system files, and where the passwords are located in the Windows folder. And you're going to learn a variety of things that are kind of crucial to cracking passwords and some of the basic fundamentals. You're going to go to this options up here and go to Power On to Firmware. And then hold down Shift equals to bring the CD-ROM drive up to the top. F10, save and exit. And then we're going to use the live USB. Okay guys, so we got Kali Linux booted into our virtual machine for our Windows XP. I'm going to go ahead and change the screen size because this is nonsense. So one of the first things we're going to need to do is get password hashes from the Windows encrypted SAM file. So if you open Files and go to Other Locations, you can see that this is mounted at dev/SDA1. You can go to Windows. This is the root of your system drive for Windows XP. So just go to Windows, System 32. Config. Here's the SAM file. Here's the system file. So let's copy those to our desktop. So here's one way to view it. Using Ophcrack, I loaded the desktop folder and this pulled up the fact that there's an administrator, there's admin1 and user1. Let's save this to a file. Let's see what that gave us. Cool. So it gave us the administrator, count number, and then the password hash. So next we're going to open Johnny the Ripper. Going to open password file. We're going to make sure we're going to include the admin1 and user1, and we're going to find out what these passwords are. By default, there is a word list included with Kali Linux, so it's great. It's in the user USR share wordlists. And this we're going to actually have to extract that, so let me show you. So we're going to extract it right where it was. It's called RockYou.txt. So we'll go back to Johnny the Ripper. And there we are. We're going to open that word list. And we just started a new attack and bam! It figured out the admin1's password is 12345. User 1 is princess. So this was an auto detect that it was an NT type password. This is the hash. It's very interesting how quickly that worked. Well, I knew ahead of time that we were going to use the RockYou.txt, and I picked passwords when I set these on the Windows XP box that were in the earlier part of the file, because I'm not going to make you guys wait through a text file that's 150 megabytes. I mean, that file barely even opens with most programs. Don't try and open it with Notepad, it'll just break. But that is a simple way of cracking Windows passwords with a couple different tools. There's other ways of getting the password hashes. So you can do offline attacks. SAM dump. Retrieves syskey and extracts hashes from Windows 2000 NT XP Vista. Perfect. So it says samdump2 space O. And let's do samdump.txt and then dot system. Oh, that's why. samdump2 output is going to be samdump.txt. That work? Why, yes it did. You just have to remember that the starting point sometimes is easier. The reason I did this from the desktop and I opened terminal from a desktop folder is where I had the system files already saved, so I wouldn't have to worry about the long paths. I just type period / system and period / sam to reference the current folder that we are actually in on terminal. So samdump would just knows to save this as a text file here, and there we go. So that's another way you can get the hashes from a Windows encrypted SAM. So there's samdump, pwdump also works. Other applications that are good. Ophcrack was great for rainbow tables. There's Rainbow Crack, which is another one. Wordlists. Bingo bango. There's a ton of stuff in Kali Linux that you can do here. Another way to crack Windows passwords. I don't know if you're going to be just using this as something to check on. You don't want to use this on a pen test when you are using customer data, because this is going to be actually using a website, and it's just kind of amazing what's available and what's out there. So let's do this. I'm going to select admin 1. We've already cracked that here with Johnny the Ripper. See? Password is 12345. Let's try this. And there we go. That was about 2 seconds. And that was real time. See, password is 12345. And I was practicing earlier with some other ones on a Windows 7 box. And sure as stuff, yeah, it didn't even take a second for it to be ready. So this is why you have long passwords and password phrases, because 12345, I mean, that's only good if you're wanting to maybe set the password on your luggage. Alright guys, I will be showing you some other stuff here in a little bit, and enjoy.